Hi, and welcome to Talk Wednesday. Wednesdays have quickly become my favorite day of the week because I get to have amazing conversations with really cool people. Before I introduce today's guest, we of course need to send out a huge thanks to the Pursuit 365 founder, the amazing Shelley Lynn Hughes, because of course, without Shelley and her amazing vision, we wouldn't be here. But also too, we need to thank our sponsor. So without Leanne Miles at the Clinton Wilkins Mortgage Group, again, we would not be here having this discussion. I would not have the opportunity to introduce to you guys Cara Lawson. So Cara and I have been talking before we hit record, and interestingly enough, for anybody that's watched a few of these Talk Wednesdays, you've learned that I personally used to live in British Columbia. And Cara and I, in getting to know each other a little bit, I've realized that we've probably passed one another at one point or another in a parking lot somewhere, because Ocean Park is where Cara's office is, and that's a spot that I've done much grocery shopping. A dear friend of mine used to own a business there, and it's a place very near and dear to my heart. So coming to us from South Surrey, British Columbia, I'd like to introduce you to Cara Lawson. Hi, Cara.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right. So, Cara, we can see the beautiful aesthetic behind Cara, and Cara brings the gift and the art of design. And I every time I get to meet somebody new, I lean in. I'm so fascinated at the different talents that many people bring to our world. So, Cara, at what point in your life did you realize you were meant to do what you're doing? And I realize that's a huge question, but I would love to know where your love of design and all that stems from, and where your journey began.
I think as a child, actually, with not even pinpointing what interior design was, because that was many moons ago. I was always rearranging my bedroom. I'd see inspiration on TV of murals that they've done on the wall, and my mom would just let me do it. She just kind of embraced that creativeness within and just said, "Sure, why not?" So, and then as I became, graduated and became or was a teenager, I went to Kwantlen for a pre portfolio, how to prepare your portfolio to actually apply in the design program, and really learned that I was so passionate about it. I recall going down to the Seattle Interior Design Center on a field trip and just being like, wow, this is where I want to be. And funny enough, though, once I completed the program or that program, and I learned how competitive the interior design program was, for some reason, I lost confidence and just steered off a different direction. And I ended up in the finance industry for about 7 years or so. And then after our second child was born, I stayed at home for a while, and then I revisited it because we built a house, so I designed that, and not really knowing, just like it just organically came to me. It was just a intuitive sense, and I was really big on going back to school for that. Sorry, am I just rambling here?
Oh, no, not at all. This is all about you. Please keep
Yeah,
going. I'm all
yeah. And so I remember saying to my husband, I want to go back to school for this. And the kids were older, they were older in elementary school, but I still wanted to be there for them after school. And he's like, why don't you just do it? You have talent, just do it. And I'm like, No, I need education to do this. And when I went back to school, it was, wow. So this is why I intuitively do this, because you can't tell your client, oh, well, it just feels good. You need an explanation of why, especially if they don't, they're not on board with, maybe an element of the design that you're proposing. And there's always a reason why we do things. It's a complete psychology. And I was so grateful to have that opportunity to go back to school, honestly, and complete a program. And then coming out of that, I had, before I even graduated, I had my first job. So, and then just grew from there. So my passion started at a very young age, but I didn't really pinpoint it until I was much, much older.
Interesting, interesting. Because I'm guessing too, not that I want to try to guess your age or whatnot, but things like HGTV, like HGTV didn't exist, when I was young.
No,
I'm not sure about you, but
no.
because that's a big part of where a lot of people are getting their inspiration nowadays. So it's really interesting because when I was young, it was you'd be a teacher, maybe a librarian, uh, maybe a nurse. Things like go be an interior designer. we're not we're not on the career day charts, that's for sure. Now, again, I just was listening to myself there. So I referred to you as an interior designer. So are you, but I've heard the term interior decorator before. Is there a difference? Does that make a difference to you? Are either of those terms even correct? Because again, there is an education here to the different hats that people wear.
Yeah. So, decorators are like a very key part in design, as for more of the finishing, like the furnishing, the art, that sort of thing. Whereas for us, we're taking, I mean, I call myself an interior designer because I'm taking the project from start to finish. So, for example, if you're reviewing blueprints and for a new build or such, it's like, okay, we're not going to actually be able to accommodate the table here. So why don't we move this wall over 6 inches? Decorators don't do that. That's not, their thing. And as well as there's a bigger education going into interior design. NCIDQ is a huge 3-part exam that we must complete. And so that goes through codes, and it's pretty in depth. I think that being a decorator, I don't think that, I mean, I don't know because I'm not a decorator. So I don't know what they need to do to be a decorator. I think you can wing it. I don't know. But there's huge liability being a designer. There's huge liability. So, for example, I always recall one of my friends. She was did very high-end luxury homes, and she had designed this chandelier in this massive home, and it was an $80,000 chandelier, if you could imagine. So the weight of it, so if you could just kind of, right? I mean, I don't know. We don't have that type of client yet. Please. Um, but she had to give direction to the electrician on the weight, that sort of thing, so that he could decipher, how are we hanging this? What do we need for the weight? That sort of thing. Luckily, she had given up that information. But lo and behold, in the middle of the night, didn't the thing fall down and there was glass everywhere? There's glass in the furniture, in the walls. It could have killed somebody. So they went back to the designer. Had she not given all that information and crossed her T's and dotted her I's, she would have been liable. And people don't realize the liability of our job. They think that we're just, Having fun. That's my favorite thing. People always say, oh, your job must be so fun. Yeah, it is. I love my job, but I also comes with a big responsibility. And so that always really sat very high in my mind, if that's a way of saying it. And so education, huge. Just knowing, because you don't know what you don't know.
Isn't that the truth? That's so true. That's so true. And sometimes it's really scary too, because we feel sometimes when you're putting yourself out there, that there's this pressure that I need to know it all and I need to have it all figured out. And so then it gets scary, right? To
Mhm.
admit when you don't know something, or, but again, we can't know it all. That's impossible. And that's why
No,
it's so beautiful to find and meet and interact with more and more people and discover what they do, because they could literally be an answer to your prayers, to be like, this is the person that I need in my life because they know what I don't know.
yeah.
So that's it. Wow. Okay. Is this
And
okay? So I want to. Oh, go ahead. Go
oh, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, you can't be afraid to ask questions. You need to ask. So, sometimes clients will say, oh, you don't know the answer to that? I'm like, no, I got a lot in my brain. I can only hold so much. I'll ask and I'll find out for you, but I don't know everything and I can't
That's
possibly.
right.
So.
No, and people really respect you. Like, I know I struggled with that for a lot of years, and but people really respect you when you say, you know what, I don't know, but I will find out.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to BS your way out of it, because that's really where imposter syndrome comes in, and I think too, if anybody's holding you to the standard that, thou shalt know it all, I don't really want to work with them. That's too much
No,
pressure.
no, and it kind of takes away the fun of it, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. Not my people. Not my
No.
people. Let them go. Let them go. Okay, so earlier in our conversation, you'd mentioned how competitive you realize that your industry is. So, um, I think anything when people are in it, it feels that way. Not that I'm not looking to diminish what you're doing, but then what it forces us to do is really hone in on what our secret sauce is. So, otherwise known as our niche or our niche, however you want to say it. So, what would you say, Cara, is your secret sauce that you bring to the world of design?
That is a really hard question. And I would have to say, I listen. Like, I listen to what the client's asking. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but I really do listen. And if they're suggesting something and it doesn't work, I'll always say, I heard you, because everybody wants to be validated. They want to be heard. I heard you, but this is why that won't work, and give them a reason
Mm,
why.
mm,
Because in the end, they're in the driver's seat. But a component, I guess, that makes us a little bit different, maybe from our competitors, is that we actually have our own, other than selling furniture and that sort of thing that a lot of designers do, but we actually have our own cabinet line, custom cabinet line. So that does make us a little unique. So we still do the full design, the full service design from start to finish, but we also have that component of great quality custom cabinetry, because we're already doing a lot of millwork drawings. So we're seeing the whole space, not just cabinetry, as a lot of the cabinet shops or the cabinet designers, they're just literally looking at cabinetry. So they're not looking at, okay, how does the family room play into this? How does this room play into this? Where is the flow? Where does the electrical go? That sort of thing. What is the door profile of your interior doors, exterior doors? How does that all work together? So we're seeing it as a full package. So I would think that makes us a little bit different.
That's very interesting. I know we built a mudroom on the back of our house many, many years ago, and I was absolutely floored with how many questions I would get peppered with on a daily basis. And like I was like, oh no, like I just want a place to put my shoes and hang my coat up. It was for a mudroom. So I can't even imagine a project like this. So do you are you partnered up with contractors as part of your business? Are you solely independent? What do things sort of look like that way?
So we are solely independent. However, we work with multiple contractors. So, often it's like a mini marriage working with a designer and a contractor, and not everybody is going to, connect with a certain contractor. So we have several, and depending on the client, we can say, "Hey, this person I think will work well for you." We'll work with, a lot of different contractors, but even that we don't know. But the thing is, when we know them, we know how they work, and it's almost like that team. You have that team that you're familiar with, and one of our contractors before related it to a hockey team, that which player to put out. So that is,
Yep.
yeah,
And we know, having, been a hockey coach, there's certain situations where you put specific players on the ice, and there's specific times where you haul that player off the ice. So yeah, it's that plug and play of, knowing who to dance with, so to speak. And that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And that's where really, getting to the human aspect of business owners is so key, right? And knowing how somebody works, how somebody functions, what their organization levels are like, and all that sort of thing. Wow. See,
Mhm.
there's always so much more. People right away, I know I've been guilty of this so many times. It's like that, oh, that sounds like a lot of money, and there's where people have no idea what goes on behind the scenes in
Hmm.
in somebody's business. So you mentioned going to school. So even that, like how many years or how much time is even invested in that
Oh,
aspect? Never mind, you know,
it never ends, stuff. It just goes and goes. Like, you're never done. You're never ever done. Just when you think you're done, you're not done. No. And of
that's
course
right.
you have to do your CEU credits and that sort of thing. So as well. So
But that's what makes you good, is because you are that constant learner, and you know that you're never done. And that right there, that's the secret sauce. That's the secret sauce, right? Because I think when people are like, okay, now I'm good to go, because our world is ever changing and ever evolving, and people are evolving. And man, the growth that I've seen in the lower mainland, in the last handful of years, like, whoa, whoa,
yeah.
keeping up with the times. Now, do you find yourself, um, aesthetically, and again, I know when you're working with a client, you work with them, but you personally, I would love to know what your, favorite aesthetic is. Are you a little more mod? Do you like to stay with the times? Do you love that traditional? Do you like a mix of them? What's Kara's vibe there?
Yeah, I'm definitely more modern, but not a cold modern. I love homey. Um, it's funny when it's your style, you're not really thinking about it. You just do it because you're attracted to it. I don't have to turn it off like with a client. I have to turn my style off and, understand what they want. But I guess, we've just recently moved into a penthouse, which pinched me already because it still doesn't seem real, and it's been since August. So I was fortunate enough to just start from scratch as far as all the furniture. I kind of rearranged the kitchen a little bit. I was able to do that. They had lots of room for wine, but I said, hey, what about food? I like wine, but I need food. Need to be able to put food somewhere. And I was able to design a beautiful media unit and some office cabinetry as well to kind of go in. So when people walk in, the first thing they say is, you know, it's beautiful, but it feels so warm and homey. And I think that that is something subconsciously we like I introduce into any design is it has to feel homey because we don't live in a show home.
Yep. All right, now we're going to address the elephant in the room. We can hear your dog barking in the
Yes.
background, and I know you're like, oh my gosh, my dog's barking. So you shared with me though that you have multiple dogs. So
We have
hey,
two.
I'm a dog lover. Introduce us to your dog without introducing us to your dog.
She's apparently on guard. I don't know what she's guarding right now. Maybe a seagull going by. It's so she's 3 pounds and Chico is 5 pounds. But Chico's 16. He's very elderly. Can't really see. He has good days and bad days. He so we're just kind of hanging on day by day and happy to have him with us. But Izzy, she's protecting the world. Yeah.
She sounds very feisty, and I love it. I love a good feisty bitch. Right? You're talking to somebody who has a 3-legged hound dog. So I grew up with little dogs and it was the debate. My husband had he was raised with labs. I was raised with toy poodles, and so it was trying to find that compromise. And okay, so nothing over 30 pounds. It's got to be female, and it has to be hypoallergenic. Oh no, I have a 3-legged 75-pound hound dog, and I wouldn't trade him for anything. Oh yeah. The second I met him, I was done. He was a rescue. And you know those little bumper stickers that say who rescued who? Yeah.
Aww.
My Lincoln rescued me. Yeah. It's amazing how much they become part of our lives, right? And they become such a big part of our family. And we had to talk about your girl. Had to talk about your girl. Okay, so Cara, where if somebody wants to work with you, do you work with clients like all over BC? Do you stick to a certain area? Can you work with clients virtually? Like, how could what are the options for someone to be like, I'm really loving this gal. I want to learn more. What, who do you work with?
So it really depends on the project. So mainly we're in South Surrey White Rock. That's where we're located. That's where a lot of our work is. We have done some projects in Langley, but there's plenty of work here, so we haven't really had to travel. Saying that, we have had we've been hired from one of our clients here. They're building a house in Summerland. So we were able to do that, virtually. We've had clients from Summerland. They're doing a massive renovation here. So again, a lot of Zoom and that sort of thing. And we could send samples if we needed to. So, the virtual world, I mean, it's such a great opportunity to be able to, work with different people. If you have that connection and it all works, like all the logistics work. And so, yeah, we haven't really explored too much, across Canada or anything like that. I think that would be trickier because we're still using our suppliers that are local to, BC, I guess is basically it. So that we know that what we are getting, because we need to source and that sort of thing to make sure that it works with their project.
Yeah. So of course, if, I'm like, hey, would you design for me? Oh, you maybe could do things up to a certain level, but of course I'm not getting your cabinet maker necessarily, right? To build, that aspect of the project out. So that's where at some point you would have to tap out to someone. And again, we can't be all things to all people, and that's quite all right too. It helps
Yeah.
you, be the best that you can be, and not water yourself down, right? Because I think that can sometimes be the distracting factor, so to speak.
Right. And when it comes to furniture and that sort of thing, we've got amazing suppliers everywhere, like all over North America at this point. So we've, over the course of the last year and a half, we actually started importing furniture from North Carolina, which is very good quality. And so that's been a really fun aspect, being able to do that and not having to use all our, we love our local suppliers, but sometimes it just really needs to be a different look, and we weren't finding that, so we had to expand. And that's scary too. It really is. I think being in business day to day is, you're facing your fears every day, but it worked out, so we're really pleased with that.
So true. Every time, that's something I know that I never gave a lot of thought to, right? But every time we encounter somebody new, we're opening up a new level of vulnerability, right? Because we don't know what expectations somebody's bringing to the table. So,
Mhm.
you can love what you love, but again, design, food, art, like music, like there's so many things in life that are so subjective. So I run a sandwich shop, and when we curate and create a new sandwich, and we figure out all the components, like we put a lot of time in and eating into our creations, and we're like, okay, yeah, that's it. Just because I think it's the bomb, you could bite in and be like, no, not my thing. And many years ago that would have crushed my soul, but now I realize that, like, everybody has different taste. Everybody has different taste, right? And you are so right. It is so vulnerable. Even for you, going back to the beginning of this conversation, when you said to your husband, like, I think I want to do this. Like, even just for you to announce that to him, to be like, okay, what's he gonna say? Like, I'm sure there was that moment where you were, what's
Yeah.
what's
And
coming at me.
the funny thing about that was, that was the kids were fairly young in elementary school. He had spent many, the first part of probably our marriage building his own business. So reinvesting into the business. So we didn't have a lot of extra money. So and I needed to buy a computer. I needed, books. I needed to pay for the tuition and all these things. And he's like, no, Cara, we can't afford it. But my gut told me I needed to do that. I needed something for me. So I really had to work hard at it. And, kind of, things have changed since. He doesn't say that to me. He says, he needs to make more money now. I'm just kidding. but, back then that was a real struggle. It was a real struggle to come up with the extra money, because you have the kids' sports, you have, education, you have to put food on the table. And to really convince him that that was something that we needed to make room in our budget to do, um, was really hard, because he wasn't on board. But then he's so glad that I did it now, right?
That's amazing. And this is where, to any of these young entrepreneurs out there, I'm a true believer that, when you've got this calling on your heart, and that thing that just keeps coming up for you, it's
Mhm.
you really can go after that, and you really can have what you want. And it's learning that you can't let your potential excuses become your roadblocks. Interestingly enough, I was down in LA a couple of weeks ago. I've been part of a mastermind group since September, and we had an in-person component. And one of the gals in that group shared that she actually sold her wedding ring at one point in order to have money to pay for I don't even remember what it was, but it was she wanted this business, like she wanted to build this business so bad, and she knew that, you know, she needed this thing to get her to the next level. So like you, it would have been the tuition or, you know, whatever, but she's like, I'm not letting anything stop me, you know, and I like my mind was absolutely blown that, you know, nothing's getting in my way. I'm going after it. And, you know, and to see where she is today as a result of that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm not saying go sell your wedding ring, but
and you know, kind of, you know, in what you're saying there too, I think also it's taking that first step, even though you know the answer's no, to not take no, just to you know, find a solution. And that's kind of the way that my mind always works, is what is the solution to this? Let's talk about it. What can we do to make this work? What do we need to give up? Or that sort of thing. But that it's always that first step.
And maybe it's not no, maybe it's just not right now. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, I wasn't
right.
Take
As a friend of good for you. As a friend of mine says, you don't put a comma or don't put a period where you can put a comma, right? Because sometimes it's that no, put a period there, put a comma there, and keep going, keep going. Yeah. So, on that amazing note, where can people find you, Cara? Where's your favorite place, you know, for people to connect with you? Is it social media? Is it through your website?
Yeah, probably through our website, the contact form. So it's, you know, carainteriors.com is our website. That is the best way. We've got an information or a contact form that people can fill out what they're looking for and that sort of thing. And then we will connect with them.
Is that it? Did I get that website correct?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, perfect. So there you go, guys. That's the best place to connect with the amazing Cara Lawson and her team. And she's definitely your gal for your next design project, that's for sure. Now, before we wrap up, Cara, I've been having fun on these Talk Wednesdays with one question in particular, just to take things in a completely different direction. So to wrap up, I'm going to get you to kind of take your interior designer hat off. Okay. And we're going to learn about maybe a different side of you. So if you were going to give a TED Talk on nothing that you're known for, what would your TED Talk be about?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Probably inspiration. It's finding inspirational moments.
See, I love that. I love that. And what is one thing? What's your main source of inspiration?
You know, honestly, probably women. I think that we really need to connect. I love what Shelley Lynn's done with, you know, Pursuits 365. And I mean, she's just a huge inspiration. Just, you know, taking that first step and that initiative and connecting women, because we really need to be strong together. And, you know, sometimes you hit this competitiveness within our world of women, and we really don't need to be that way. We need to work as a team. There's always a place for somebody, even if you're in the same industry, there's plenty of work. If you're confident in your work, you shouldn't have an issue, right? And just making people feel better, because I feel like when you leave this world, how did you make people feel? Is that not the last thing you might take with you? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's beautiful. And that's the perfect ending to such an interesting conversation. So yeah, that's like mic drop moment. So thank you for that. And thank you to, of course, to Shelley Lynn for this amazing community that you're building and these opportunities to meet amazing people. And thank you again to our Talk Wednesday sponsor, Leanne Miles at the Clinton Wilkins Mortgage Group. Thank you so much for your time, Cara. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And folks, definitely reach out to Cara and see if she is a great fit with her many, many talents. All right, until next time, guys, have a fantastic Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.